Hello viewers, Super TT here. Take a look at this, okay? So Next Level Racing, who make racing cockpits, posted this image asking what games we're looking forward to this year with the Gran Turismo 7 logo. Apparently, it looks a bit makeshift to me, so not sure what to make of that. They have since removed that image, but let me know your thoughts. Okay, Nations Cup then, we return, and you can see my scores there, not all that great, although I did have a good first round. But we do need to recover some points here because we are a bit down. But Group 3 at Suzuka, kind of a good opportunity to do that. So let's jump into the Nissan GTR and see how we go. Always great when you get rammed off in the warm-up. But anyway, we arrive at the qualifier. Qualifying. Yeah, here we go then. Now, you might have watched the recent Le Mans video in manufacturers. And actually, we managed to get a pole position. So qualifying has actually been alright somewhat for me recently. We're going to try again here in Suzuka, Group 3 cars. When I say Group 3, pretty much everyone's in the GTR. Pretty much always going to be a one-make race at the Nations Cup. Everyone always choosing the same car most of the time. But let's run on board with the entirety of this qualifying lap. Now we of course tried to get into the tow of the cars ahead, and that is pretty much always the way that it happens. There's so many videos I'm seeing on Twitter where people, about 10, 12 cars all waiting at the final corner and none of them want to go first. And that qualifying problem seems to persist. They have got rid of the fuel burn, which is a good development, but still the slipstream problem exists and it's rather annoying. But anyway, I digress. We continue here through the first sector. Suzuka, very difficult circuit to nail, so many corners, so many different types of corners. We're in the big boy here, the big boy GTR, and it's not exactly fabled for its nimbleness around the corners, but it will do very well in the second half of the lap on the power sections. Tidgney too, nicely out of there, coming towards the hairpin. Now no one's set a lap as of yet, so we don't know exactly how well we're doing. Into the hairpin, pretty much nailing the apex, maybe a little bit wide, but not too bad. And this is where we really benefit from the slipstream. From here to the end of the lap, lots of time spent in a straight line, full power. I went round towards Spoon, and I would say the gap from myself to the car ahead has actually increased since the start, if anything. Trying to judge it through Spoon, difficult corner, gotta get that exit, gotta be brave, get over that curb on the way out, and we hurtle towards 130R. Very easy to get this one wrong, but you do have to kind of, well, mow the grass basically on the left hand side, kind of just avoid it, but you'll see it more in the race. Break in before the 100 board, about 125 into this corner, making the most of the curbs. Random packet of discos appear, and we come around the final corner, definitely caught up with the car ahead. In fact, with all three of them, I think. We're going to cross the line here, and boom, look at that pole position. Hashtag get in there, Lewis. Fantastic drive, mate. And for once, well, I say for once, probably for the second time recently, we've actually done well in qualifying, which is quite rare for me, but I'm quite happy with it. We have to wait until the session ends, but eventually it did end, and eventually it was 100% confirmed a pole position.
Do you know Super GT? I know of Super GT. I've been sent his videos multiple times. My brother's a huge fan of him, so he watches all his videos. So I do know of him, and I remember like my brother used to watch him before I got into Formula 1, and then it was kind of like a shock to him to suddenly see him pretending, well, not pretending to be me, but obviously having some kind of like embodying me.
That is honestly a truly hashtag blessed moment to be acknowledged by Alex Albon. Remember where you were when Super GT polled it at Suzuka, and tell your grandchildren about it, just like the Le Mans story from recently. But here we go. 16 laps to try to hold off 19 other Nissan GTRs. We'll see how we do. We started on pole at Le Mans. It was a great race. Not going to spoil the result just in case anyone wants to go ahead and watch that one and you haven't seen it already. Look at the weaving coming into turn 1 as we desperately try to get some heat into those tyres. Okay, so we don't bottle turn 1. I'm on the soft tyre. Now the strategy for this race. Okay, here we go then. You have to use all 3 tyres, soft, medium and hard. I'm on the soft to begin with. You want to spend as little time on the hard as possible, so 1 lap. You put them on and then come in at the end of the next lap. And then soft and mediums, spend about 7-8 laps on those each. And that's pretty much the strategy. So I'm going with the soft to begin with, and then we've got the choice really. Go onto the medium and then do 1 lap hard on the end, or do 1 lap hard in the middle. I think doing it in the middle is probably better, as you can benefit more from the toe and you can just hold people up for 1 lap, slow them down, and you just go about your jolly little business, on that middle lap. But early doors here, beginning just to edge away from second, which is good news, but this could be because he's on a different tyre. Now one thing I did note is that this guy behind me, the Italian, we were in a practice session before this and he was slightly quicker than me when we were on the same tyre, and bearing that in mind I'd probably say that he's on the medium tyre, whereas I'm on the soft. You see the gap there already opening up. Super GT to driving off from pole position isn't a thing that happens really, and therefore it's probably just because of the tyres. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves at this point of the race. We've still got 15 laps left to go. A long way left. As we round out lap number 1, we're going to whip it forward here a little bit, down towards the first corner. Difficult to get right, and it's so easy just to excuse the turn, but get sucked wide at turn 1 and at Spoon. This track kind of does that to you, Suzuka as it's known. But by lap 4 here, the gap slowly increased a little bit each lap, as you can see, and now sitting a good 3.5 seconds up on our Italian friend there in second. And consistency decent, 58.6, 58.7, 58.9. So you can see each lap getting slightly slower, but then it would do as the tyres begin to wear out. But now look at lap 7. We're going to compare the gap here from myself to second. You can see that perhaps might have gone 1 lap too long, but then we'll see. Basically, we'll see later on in the race how this plays out. As of course the soft tyre is not going to last quite as long as the medium, which Tony Mike 95 is on, and therefore the longer the stint goes on, the more it's going to come back into the medium tyre's favour compared to the soft. Running a little bit wide there, you see just squirming on the exit of Degner 1 and losing a tenth. Coming down towards the hairpin. We started the lap 3.5 seconds up, already lost 4 tenths on this lap, which is quite a lot, quite a big difference, and it's certainly not something to be scoffed at. Down to 3 seconds the gap. 5 tenths of half a second lost so far. Through Spoon, looks like a lot of people have pitted, and I think it will be time on this lap. Just trying to make that decision. Is it time to come in now? Should we do 1 more lap and have a better stint later? But with this kind of gap coming down as quick as it is now, I'll say now's the time to jump in and let the Nissan boys do the work. So jumping in 2.6 seconds, we lost 0.9. That's quite a lot of time to lose on 1 lap. We come in then. Nissan boys getting to work, getting rid of the soft tyres, bolting on a set of hard tyres. We're going to do the hard lap now, and we can bring up that graphic once again and just monitor that gap. So the hard tyre did not practice the hard tyre. This is probably a bad decision to not practice it, because you can lose quite a lot of a lot of time just by not practicing, you know. So we'll see how this goes. Again, just look at that gap from myself to second place. It was 3.5 at the beginning of lap 7. We are now a third of the way into lap 8. And the scary thing is that I have to go onto the medium tyre and Tony will have the soft tyre at the final stint, which is going to be at the end of this lap. We're both going to come in, presumably, to get rid of the hard tyre and go onto our final tyre of the race. And for him it's the soft, for me it's the medium, and therefore it's going to be quite tricky. Going to be quite a tricky scenario because we've still got half the race left after this lap, so a long way to go, and certainly no time to be getting a little bit overconfident. You know, we've got a long way to go. Pole position though certainly helps. It massively helps in this game, mainly because of, well, obviously you're starting further forward, you don't have to work to get past people. You don't have to fuel save as much because you start further forward. You don't have to wear out your tyres as much. You don't start awkwardly on the chicane. There's so many benefits to starting further forward. And of course the rolling start is so spread out that starting 20th, you're already about 10 seconds behind the lead. And it's almost impossible to catch up. So we come back in and get rid of the hard tyre. It's just so bad that you just do not want to spend any time on it. Like a worn set of mediums is better than brand new hards. It's kind of like that. So we get rid of them, we refuel, and boom, I haven't saved enough fuel. And Tony's undone me there, and he's got ahead. This is going to be quite tricky. I need to get back ahead of him like, instantly. He's on the soft tyre though, I'm on the medium. That's going to make it difficult. I'm in 6th place here. So we come back out in traffic. A couple of these cars will certainly have to pit at some point, and you see how close it is here as we pan out to the exterior shots. But okay, this race is getting a little bit interesting now. For the first sort of 7 laps, really not much was happening, but here we are in the thick of things now. Lap number 9, getting towards the tail end of the race, the business end of it, where things are going to really matter. You see Tony just driving off every corner, just gets, you know, half a second, or sorry, half a tenth or a tenth. And when you're on the worst tyre, there's not too much you can do about it. I was hoping to come out of the pit lane just ahead of him, then I could just defend to the death for half the race. But well, that scenario's out of the window. We can't do that anymore, unless somehow, by some divine miracle, we can get back ahead of him and then begin just to go all guns blazing on the defence, you know. But that is looking increasingly unlikely, unfortunately, and it kind of shows you that 2 laps in this race really sort of turned the tide of the war, as I was looking comfortable 3.5 seconds ahead, and then he just chipped away a second a lap, saved a bit more fuel as well, and then he's jumped me in the pit lane. Just shows you just how quick a race can change, just like that. But the thing here, he has, if you can look ahead, he's in a group who, I don't know this tyre strategy. It's really hard to keep tabs on who's on what tyre and how old those tyres are. He could get slowed down here. Those people might be on really worn tyres, but at the end of that lap, you see that guy does pull in. Doesn't really lose too much time. I am vaguely keeping up with him, but really not anywhere near close enough to go for a move. And I mean, if I went for a move from this far back, I'm just basically signing my own death sentence, basically. It's just never going to work. I'm signing his death sentence as well, I think. But he's stuck behind his fellow Italian at this point of the race. I need something big to happen, really. But all I can do really is just kind of just nail my own laps and just kind of forget about them, really. There's not much point. If it happens, it happens. You know, if they crash into each other, then they're going to crash into each other. But I can't really affect that from here. We do have pressure from a Belgian driver behind now. If you're looking at the radar bottom right of the screen, you might have just noticed that I'm not alone here. I'm most certainly coming under pressure now, and this is going to go on until the end of the race. This is kind of how it's going to be now. As you can see just how close he is, well within a car length there. As we're coming to the hairpin, I've gone a little bit deep on the brakes, and we're going to leave the corners side by side as we wind around the long right-hander towards Spoon, and he's going to tuck in behind. Just he's very close on the brakes, and he almost goes for it. Kind of half did go for it, and we've got a spinner up ahead there. GT Avi just spinning round. Must have just got, well, sucked off at Spoon. We spoke about that earlier, and it's happened. Our first victim. Right, into 130R, having to defend. This is going to be the way this race goes. Through the corner side by side, and it doesn't quite work out. And we just keep third. It's going to be second eventually, I would hope, when the leader eventually comes into the pit lane. As I'm pretty sure the leader has only done one stop, we've done two. You can see the gap to Tony now just extending. Look at that as we pan out to the long shot. And that's a good couple of seconds now. It's going to be really difficult to reel that in. It's pretty much a case of just really fighting for second place now. And sometimes you just have to accept that you haven't been as good as you could have been. Sometimes there's better people out there. And that's kind of just, well, life advice really. There's always going to be some younger, better looking, faster person than you, you know? That's always going to be the case. Sometimes you just have to accept it. And, well, I say that, but Tony Mike 95 might have been born in 1895, you know? He might be 125 years old. Who am I to judge? I don't know. Right, through Degner 1, still ahead. Degner 2, probably not my best corners actually. Degner 2, I've really struggled. And that puts me on the back foot, as you can see. He's essentially pushing me here. He's that close. Into the hairpin, covering the inside. He couldn't quite go for it. It's a difficult car to go through that kind of move. It is a big car. Thankfully, this car is so big that you pretty much can defend very easily just by, well, just by being on the track. You're covering half of it because it's so wide. Into Spoon, and he's not quite close enough this time to really go for it. The real opportunity is on the slipstream, coming down to 130R, and that's been happening for the last few laps. He's going to do it again here, and I know it's coming. I just have to cover to the left-hand side. Is he going to go to the right? Yes, he is. There he goes. And we go through side by side. He backs out this time. Is he close enough to go for a move into the chicane? No, I judge not. Leader into the pit lane as we hurtle our way through that final chicane. Look at the guys behind, not too far behind, so if I start defending too much, I'm going to invite pressure from even more people, and my job is going to become increasingly more difficult to keep this second place. And oh, here we go, someone coming out of the pit lane here, and we're just going to get past him. It was very, very close. But taking a quick look behind, you can see that side by side, and it looks like the Belgian driver got a penalty, almost certainly an incorrect penalty, because the stewards are permanently smoking something very strong these days, and he's going to have to serve that later in the lap. 1 second penalty for the Belgian, and it's going to give me a bit of respite. But I mean, I have this British driver in the Pennzoil liveried GTR now. Looks like we've gone for the classic liveries, the Loctite one, Pennzoil livery. We just need the Calsonic blue livery to complete the set, I think. We're coming to Degner 2. We hooked up a bit better that time. A little bit wide on the exit. You see just squirming on the way out of the turn into the hairpin. Is he close enough? No. We cover him off. And this is going to become increasingly difficult. And this is never a nice scenario to be in. You know, you just kind of... I have to defend for the next 10 minutes. Well, we have 3.5 laps left, so maybe it's more like 7 minutes. I lied to you. 7 minutes defending. This is going to be difficult. And there's so many opportunities within this next 7 minutes for these cars to get past. But I have to kind of just, you know, grit my teeth and just defend. I don't like to have to defend, but, well, you know, the situation demands it. If I want to keep this second place, then I'm going to have to do it. And ideally, I just would have been quicker, you know, and kept up with the leader. But it seems as though on the back foot, when the tyres are worn, then I'm normally a bit slower, and that's certainly something I need to work on. Just my pace on worn tyres, and just preserving the tyres in the first place so they don't actually get too worn, and perhaps hustling the car a little bit too much. Taking a look behind here as we go into turn 1, that 14, 3 laps to go, having to defend. He could have gone for that. He could have got just close enough. You never know, he might have backed out. It's hard to know, but just taking no chances, defending it, keeping the position. Through here, the S is almost impossible to overtake. If I just take the line, there's almost nothing he can do unless he's on super fresh soft tyres, but even then, not really anything viable through that section. And then through Dunlop in towards Degner, this can be an opportunity, but he's just dropped a little bit back there, and therefore gives me a bit of breathing room to not have to worry too much about it. And a little bit loose on the exit of Degner 2. Again, you see it's probably my weakest corner on this whole track. Not quite ever getting it dead right, you know. But through the hairpin, still just behind. Getting towards the end of the race, 2 laps to go after this. And, you know, you've seen the light at the end of the tunnel when it's only 2 laps. But look how close he is. Winding around towards Spoon, he's almost alongside. I just go narrow to cover him off. He backed out. It would have been very, very risky to go for that move, I think. And he thought the same. He backed out. He's going to live to fight another day. And we come down the back straight then. And, well, I mean, I've been practicing this for the last few laps. He's going to go for the bump draft, if you just spotted that on the radar. He's not going to go alongside. So I think he wants to get a move on, you know. He doesn't want to start fighting too much because, of course, the more I defend, the more he has to defend from someone behind him as well. And he's not obviously going to want that. Now, coming through the final corner, it's really a case of getting a good exit. You see, as we just look behind there, the group is getting a little bit bigger, and that is not good news. In fact, there's about 6 or 7 cars. Yes, that is a very long shot, so the cars look a lot closer than they actually are. They're not quite social distancing on there. Well, they will be. Well, they are now, but they won't be in maybe a lap's time when I defend so much that everyone would be within 2 metres. But we'll see how that goes. So once again, through the first section, we definitely have 2 cars running our tail now. The next 3 are maybe a second behind. But, you know, it only takes a couple of defences, you know, where you go offline, defend a corner, and you lose 3 or 4 tenths. You have to do that a couple of times, and boom, you've lost a second. And the next group is right on you, and you're under intense pressure. A little bit too wide there. I said it earlier, Degner 2, my weak corner. We're side by side, there he is. Am I going to be able to fight this one into the hairpin? I was almost on the grass there. Up the inside, he is going to get the better line on the way out. And boom, I'm down to 3rd. I'm still on the podium with over a lap to go. And supposed to benefit his, I do have the slipstream. And I've not had that for a while. But this is getting increasingly difficult, especially now as we're pretty much on the 8th lap, near enough on the 8th lap on these tyres. They're screaming in pain, they're in agony, and they are dying of death. But they're just going to have to hold on for 1 lap longer, as now we have to hold off the Belgian and the Frenchman. As our fellow Brit here, look at the speed he can carry through there. I just can't quite do that. As we come into the final chicane, I think the Belgian just dipping 2 wheels onto the grass, sliding a little bit, and this came as a massive surprise to me that he went into the pit lane. I thought that was, you know, I thought I was going to be consigned to 3rd place, but boom, he went into the pit lane. I'm back in 2nd. We have 1 lap to try to keep 2nd place. The Belgian and the Frenchman fighting. That's going to give me a bit of breathing room again, but not much, to be honest. I'm struggling. I really am on the back foot now, struggling through this first sector especially. Lots of long, winding corners. Your front tyres basically hate you through here. They really do. And I'm just doing my best to try to get around these corners the best I can. But it's going to be that second half of the lap where things get really difficult. And it's going to be really similar to the Trulli train in 2004. Cast your minds back to the Trulli train. It's now the Super GT train, Suzuka. As I'm just really defending for my life. The leader is just long gone. He's coming out of the hairpin now. You know, he's many seconds ahead, and he's performed really well. Fair play to him. And into the hairpin. Look how close they are. Look how close they are. And in fact, they're side by side here. They're almost forcing each other off the track. Side by side, All I can hope for here is just I've defended so much that they just start fighting each other instead of me. And that's kind of my only opportunity to salvage something here. But we do have track position around a track which I would say is actually alright for overtaking, although it's quite difficult when it's something the size of a GTR and someone who's defending as much as I am. So going defensive, is he close enough? No. We can move over to the right hand side and take the normal racing line. There is one more opportunity to go for a move though, and that is into this final chicane. I'm just going to half defend it here, because you just never know. Someone could just send it from a billion miles back and just go for it. But without crashing here, it looks like we just completed a solid second place. Looking back as well, look, it's not sufficing as the Hungarian drivers tried to get in on the party. But boom, second place, had to hold on for dear life, my goodness. But a second place, and I'll most certainly take that. And it's quite disappointing, you know, to get pole position but only finish second, a good 10 seconds away from the lead. But imagine if I had bottled qualifying and started 12th, you know, I might have only got up to 7. So second is good. 300 points. It's only the second time I've managed to get 300 points in a race. The first time I've done it in Nations Cup. So you know what? I'm happy with that, and I hope you're happy with watching the video. You probably are because you're still here. But as always, everyone, take care, and I hope to see you in a video or a stream very soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.